on Friday.
Get ready. Look up here. Happy New Year! Woo, woo, woo! How is everybody?
The ball's dropping. Woo!
Happy 2021. Give us a big shout out. Let us know where you're coming in from. We want to see all your flags in all the different countries. Happy New Year 2021. We're so excited to be here with each and every one of you. We have a special guest. I cannot wait to introduce you to him. And so it's the Big T.
And the little L and the Big John is going to be with us here today, man. What an exciting event this is going to be.
And so you're going to come clubbing with Larry and Taylor today. So as you're popping on, let us know you're here. We're on a lot of different platforms. And so we're, if you're not in the book club, because there's some people that we're streaming out to, if you're not in the book club, we want to share this with you to go to themillionairetraining.com. Get in our book club. This is what we do every Friday. Go clubbing with Larry and Taylor. We got a special guest here with you guys. Thought that this information was something that we wanted to share with our entire community, no matter what platform you're involved with us on, because this message is too powerful not to be shared with anybody inside the network marketing space.
Yeah, and let's just get into it. And first of all, thank you guys all for being here. And it was Taylor's idea. I was said, well, we're not going to do it on Christmas and we're not going to do it on New Year's. She said, no, we got to start the New Year's off right. And by golly, I tell you, the program that she asked, she reached out to John, and John and I have been talking. You guys are going to have a chance to meet him here shortly, talk to him, and you're going to appreciate today. But today's a different day. Usually on Club Friday, we go clubbing on Friday together. It's fun, and we're excited, and we're sharing testimonials, and we're talking about how our growth is coming and what we're getting out of the book and how much it means to us. And that's going to come across today kind of in an abstract way. But this is a significant day. This is January 1st, 2021. And it kind of touched me in a lot of different ways. Number one, what we've gone through in 2020, everyone's gone through some at the very least, very different type of times. And going into 2021 here has some big, very important memories for me, equating it back to 1981 in Herbalife. And I'm going to try and paint that picture for you. And today is a history. Today is a part, we're going to be talking about our history. Today, we're going to be talking about our present, but more importantly, we're going to be talking about our future.
Yeah.
And for those of you that grasp a hold of this, and to whatever degree you grasp this and get a hold of it, just touch it and taste it just a little bit, okay, it's only going to exponentially increase in days and weeks and months to come.
Yeah.
But let's go back here a little bit here. If you just give me this privilege and honor, and I got to tell you here, okay, and it's different because I had to wrestle with myself here to say, this is Club Friday, and this is such an important message. This is almost like it's a futuristic message, but it's a today message. So let's just get after it. Go ahead. You're going to do some stuff there?
Well, I know. I want to say this because because we definitely have some people that would appreciate this. So today, and I think this is really good, today would have been Mark Hughes' 65th birthday, January 1st. And so I just wanted, because we're talking about our past, right? And I think that I definitely wanted to acknowledge him today.
And that ties in, that happens to tie in with my thinking that led to what we're going to be doing today. It certainly tied into that because 45 years ago, he was 25 years of age. And we had a very significant meeting, just like the one we're having right now, that set the pace and set the standards and set the goals for everything that was going to happen in Herbalife that we accomplished very quickly. But it did it for the industry. And it's about ready to happen again. Let me just share some things with you here, okay? And I have no notes, and I'm just going to be sharing from my own life's experience and my own memory, and it's still very good, okay? And and when Herbalife was started in 1980, it was started from a different premise, okay? A different premise. Now, most of you know it got started on February 1st, 1980. I helped Mark put the thing together from the beginning, guiding and directing from behind the scenes. In May of 1980, we shook hands and said we're going to go forward, and Mark was going to give me the platform to be able to do what was necessary with Herbalife. But it really kicked off. I got to Herbalife officially in October of 1980. And for the next 90 days, now this is important, the next 90 days, we were strategizing and tactically putting together everything that was going to be announced on January 2nd in Palm Springs, California, with about a dozen people. And I find ourselves right here today again. Okay, we back?
Sorry about that, guys.
Hey, listen,
it's called the internet.
It does happen. Anyway, so we find ourselves in the exact same spot. Let me tell you what has happened. There's two significant factors, two very significant factors that we were able to identify that led to the extraordinary growth of Herbalife, and has established it in the marketplace to where it is today. The absolute one of the major, they're number 2 in the world. So you got to call them the major leaguer. Okay. Have to do that. But what took place? What were those two significant things that took place that led to that rising growth? It wasn't, yes, we had great products. Yes, we certainly had a compensation plan to fit the days, the age. It was all of that. But that wasn't it. There was two very significant things that happened that changed the audience, language, and behavior that came before us. You hear us talk a lot about audience, language, and behavior. That is something that you have to metabolize. That is something that you got to internalize. That's something that you got to take ownership of. That's something that you got to build on. There's a different audience, language, and behavior that's out there today. Now, let me tell you about the two things, the two factors that happened that led to 1980 for us to be able to do it. And one of them's going to surprise you like crazy, okay? Because I've been thinking about this for some time, and John and I started talking about it, and we both agreed on that point. But the one thing that happened was in 1979, and I talk about this a lot, but very few people get the significance of it, okay? Until then, we were considered nothing but parameters in our space, okay? And we were now then regulated because we were considered that. We operated like that. The audience was that. The language was that. The behavior was that. That's what it was. But in 1979, because of Amway's very long fought battle with the FTC, it was now said that multi-level, which it became, and the first time in my knowledge that terminology, MLM, was used, was in that law, that the consent decree that was signed off on. And it said, this is a viable industry. And if you operate like this, then you're going to be okay. Okay. So the audience and the language and the behavior before that was totally different. You've heard me say it in a joking manner before. When I went to my first meeting, it was said that what was in that room was 3-piece suits, whiskey drinking, cigar smoking, white shoes, Cadillac driving people. That's what it was. That's what I joined almost 53 years ago. That's what I got involved with, okay? I was involved in that audience. I was involved in that language. I was involved with that behavior, and I operated as such to be able to become successful with it. John Fleming was involved in that. He joined the same company that I did. As you guys know, my very first meeting was conducted by Bobby DePue, the original strategist and tactician of our space. And at that same meeting that joined the same night as a distributor was Jim Rohn. Jim joined the same company as I did the same night. Most of you know Jim Rohn as Jim Rohn. I knew Jim Rohn as Jim Rohn, but I knew Jim Rohn as a distributor. Okay, we worked together. Okay, it was a whole different involvement and a whole different arena, but it was a audience, language, and behavior that dictated the activities of everything that took place. 1979, when this thing was signed up by Amway and the FTC, it opened it up to a completely different audience. No longer the 3-piece suit, cigar smoking, whiskey drinking, Cadillac driving people. Was no longer that. It was the lady truck driver. It was the waitress. It was the school teacher. It was the grocery checker. It was more the long-haired hippie construction worker. That's what it became. And everybody missed it. They wanted to be able to say, okay, we're going to operate this, but they could change their language, but they could not create the behavior because they didn't understand it. We identified that. That was a platform. I said, Mark, if we'll go down this path, I believe where this industry, where we're going with this, I know that this is right. He gave me the liberty. He gave me to do that. I would never be where I am today if Mark would not have given me that platform to do what we had to do with Herbalife at that particular point. It wouldn't have happened. So the audience changed, the language changed, the behavior changed, and we went after it. Now, it took me, got to remember, I said, I helped him behind the scenes from the beginning. We agreed in May of 1980 that we were going to do it. It was almost a daily conversation on the long distance, expensive phone calls it took back then. And then in October, I got here. And the next 90 days, we put it together. But on January 2nd, 1981, we had a handful of people in Palm Springs, California, and we laid out essentially what we're going to lay out for you here today and what's going to be involved in the very first deep dive in our academy in January. Taylor, seems like you're going to say something.
No, that's 40 years ago tomorrow, guys. 40 years ago, 40 years ago, we did the Millionaire Training coming up in February. It's going to hit its 40th birthday. But I want to get into I want to talk about our guest here because, I can say this. And, these guys working with Larry, being able to work with John has been so amazing because I want you to think about Larry shares his story and his DNA and his background with Bobby DePew, starting his first company with Best Line Products. But our special guest today, that's where he got his start too. Best Line Products, 50 years ago, guys. So I want you guys to buckle in. I want you guys to take some notes. I want you not to take this for granted because think about what you're about to be involved with. 53 years of experience, 52 years of experience, or 52, I think, with John. That's 102 years of experience with these guys. No one in our space is having this conversation. No one has lived through these moments, what Larry just shared back in 1979. These two guys have been there, done that, bought a few t-shirts. You understand what I'm saying? The wisdom that you are about to partake of is going to be over the top. You must pay attention. I always say, what's being said? What does that mean? And what does that mean to me right now? And I'm telling you, this is going to be so powerful. But I want to introduce our special guest.
I got to set this up. You got to give me some space here to set this up. You jumped ahead of me here. Okay. And can you guys believe this? The big T. Okay. I got to slow her down. The big T. All right. Okay. So, but I do want you to introduce John because I don't know if I can do it unemotionally. Okay. So you're going to have to take that. You're going to have to take that step. But two things happened. Two significant things happened. Amway. FTC, audience language and behavior change. Nobody recognized it. If they recognized it, they did. More importantly, the ones, I can't say nobody recognized it. That's too broad. But the ones that did, nobody took advantage of it, but we did. But here's a second thing that happened. That's absolutely, the audience language and behavior today has changed dramatically. Okay. And here's a second thing that took place. We were coming out. We were at the end. I don't know where we are with this pandemic right now, but I will tell you this. We were in a pandemic environment like America had never seen at that particular point. And I know for some of you have no concept here of that deal whatsoever. Okay. You have no concept of it. So, but I'm going to tell you about it. In 1979, we were coming out of the worst crisis that America had been in since World War II. You know what it was? The Iran-Contra thing where they took over our embassy, okay, and they had our people as hostages, and it went on forever. And guess what happened? They siphoned the oil supply coming into America. We didn't have gas. Okay, there were gas lines all over America. You could only buy gas after you put it in your car on even and odd days of the last number of your license plate. Okay, and there were long lines just to get $5 worth of gas. Trucks couldn't deliver food. There were food shortages. Unemployment was running at 25%. Interest rates running at 25%. We were coming out of that, okay? And so we had this environment of the American public, okay, in this mindset of these difficulties, and they were looking for something. They were looking for hope. They were looking for passion. They were looking for something they could believe in. They were looking for something they could commit to. They could look for something that they could belong to. Okay, we could call it culture in our space today, but that's just a word. They were looking for that. So everything that we did following the Amway ruling and understanding the pandemic environment that we were in coming out of, we developed that whole strategy, that whole philosophy to be able to address the situation. You would think that we were the smartest business guys on the planet. Neither one of us finished high school, okay? But we, for whatever reasons, we were able to identify this, not in the words that I'm using, but in the understanding of what I'm talking about, okay? And so that was very important. So we came out of that. And from October to January 2nd in Palm Springs, everything we did was put together to be able to launch what Herbalife was going to become. Okay, and we set it down and we said, here's the audience, here's the language, here's the behavior, not with those words, guys, but with those understandings. And guess what it did? It led to my very first training in Herbalife that Taylor just referred to in February 21st of 1981 of the Millionaire Training. Now we had the Millionaire Training, which was the element. That was the element that gave them the hope, the passion, the commitment, the belief that I could do it as a waitress. I could do it as a school teacher. I could do it as a construction worker. I could do it. It gave them the mindset to say, hey, I can do this. How to employ yourself, how to solve problems, how to the mental projector. It gave them that hope and that vision that they could do it. But now we had to do something different. We just couldn't put that out there. We put it in the distributor kits to do that. But we had to now go out and we went to 20 to 22 cities a month. We would go around the country just like this. And you know what we'd teach? The 6 pillars. That's what we taught. And all we did was reinforce it. Fun, simple, magical, all the stuff that we do now. And because of that, because we identified a different audience, we identified a different language, we identified a different behavior, and then we set the mindset with it with the Millionaire Training, and we went around and reinforced it with the 6 pillars on the trainings every single month, okay? Guess what happened? In 5 years' time, 5 years' time, from the trunk of our cars, because of audience, language, behavior, 6 pillars, taking us around the United States like that, we were able to become $100 million a month company, #1 in the direct sale at that particular point. In 5 years, we were able to do it. And you know what? Every one of these guys in the book, in 5 years, they were able to develop the skills that took on and built the entire industry. We find ourselves one more time in the exact same spot of a major, major, major change in audience, language, and behavior. And the 2 factors that drove us to it are the 2 factors that drove us for Taylor to say, we got to get this book out, because if we get this book out, we can put it online in the academy. And then what we can do, our original goal was to go around the country every quarter, every month, and teach the 6 pillars at the gig summits. We had our very first gig summit, guys, when in 2019, okay? In 2019, nobody could spell gig. They didn't know how to spell it. And we had the first gig summit in 19. We had our second one in February. We were going around and teaching the 6 pillars. And we were going to do that every single month. Now, because of the pandemic, we had to put it in the academy where we have it, and we reinforce it with everything that we do.
So I want to get into our guest here. So this is something that I'm super excited to have him here, because I've had the privilege of working with these 2 gentlemen. Amazing, the energy that they have, the passion that they have for our industry, the passion, the vision that they have, the wisdom that they bring forward. And, you know, John is amazing. And so, you know, I introduced him as a direct selling associate Hall of Famer. 50 years of in the space, but what he really brought to the space with all of his wisdom, 17 years as a president of Avon West. And I want you to think about Avon with women, you know, and he actually brought the network marketing model to Avon. That's so powerful whenever you think about that. This gentleman right here, he's brought the direct selling news to the top 100, where it really brought credibility to our industry to be able to validate the numbers and what was happening inside our network marketing industry. And he's been a Hall of Famer, heavily involved with Direct Selling Association. And we got involved with him again whenever we started seeing changes, whenever we started seeing how the changes in our space taking place, and the voice that he's carried and what he's doing and the books that he's writing. John was actually a speaker at our first gig summit, and he brought tremendous value because of the statistics that he carried with him, and what really giving us a launching platform to create credibility for the voice because of where we were and what we were teaching. So I'm super excited to have him here because—
Let me throw this in before you do that, okay? John Fleming and his group, the John Fleming Group, is the subject matter expert. They call him SME, subject matter, in the gig world. The professional world out there, all the academics have solicited him to be able, his group, to be able to put a book together, and he'll tell you about that book that's coming out, to gather up the stats. But when you gather up the stats and what's going on, how do you interpret it? That's where John and I come in. We know how to collaborate together to be able to take the stats and convert it into audience language and behavior. And it's just amazing. I'm sorry to do that, but his group is remarkable.
And so not only that, as a great friend, but he actually did us the honor of writing the foreword inside of the book here. So we're super excited to have him here. So I'm going to bring him up as our special guest, Mr. John Fleming. John, how are you?
He looks smart. He looks smart. Okay.
He looks like
Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thank you so much for being here. We're super excited to have you here.
Well, I'm excited to be here, and I want to thank you up front for the invitation. And when you gave me a call and said that you were going to do this on New Year's Day, I had to stop and pause. You got to be kidding. New Year's Day? People are going to be doing other things, looking at games, you know, doing what they do. I just find this amazing. So I want to say that. And when I say that this is amazing, I'm referring to the many people that are probably listening and looking that have committed time on a New Year's Day to listen to the kinds of things that we are talking about. And I can't think of a better way to actually start the year. So, you know, this moment, this first day of a new year is always one of gratitude, one of humility. We ran the course the previous year, and now we have been given the signal to start again. And I just want to say something about the calendar. The older we get, and by the way, we have really dated ourselves. We have talked about things that happened 40, 50 years ago. And we do realize that many of you on this call might not be 40 or 50 years old. So we don't want you to think that we are historians. We may be, but there's something else going on here too in terms of utilizing the blessing of age and the ability to formulate insights and reflect on what has happened, and then begin to predict what may happen as we go forward. And the beauty of the calendar is that we have this start point and stopping point. And last night, as I watched the new year come in different places of the country and different places in the world, it's ironic that the genius behind the calendar did not design it to be in perpetuity. They designed it to have a start point and an ending point. So the start point is January 1. The ending point is December 31. And because of the design, I'm an architect in terms of background, so I'm always looking at what's really behind the design and what's fundamentally solid here. So when we get to December 31st and we celebrate the coming of the new year, what it really means is let's be grateful and let's dust ourselves off and let's make sure we reflect on the learning of the past and the wisdom that allows us to march forward in always a better way. When we say Happy New Year, we're not thinking about, hey, I hope your next year is as bad as mine. I hope that you're okay. We say Happy New Year.
Yes.
And Happy New Year means we are looking forward to something even better than whatever it was we experienced in the past. So with that reflection, I am here today with a humble and grateful attitude that I can spend a little bit of time on my New Year's Day with a group of people that are obviously successful in what you do. And so when you listen to us and listen to some of the things that Larry often reflects on, these fundamentals in many ways are everlasting. The structures of ancient Greece and Egypt still stand because they are fundamentally sound. We can go to Greece, we can go to Egypt, we can look at the pyramids, and the awesome thing about that is that these structures were built 2,000 plus years ago. So we are a part of a model that was originally designed over 100 years ago, and about 50 years ago went through some great moments of transformation. And that's what Larry was reflecting on. And sometimes I listen to someone else talk about this and I'm going, wow, that must have been great. These guys have been around a long time. And then I'm reminded, well, I was there. So Taylor has touched on some of the things that I have done. Let me just take a few minutes and then back to the purpose of this. And that purpose is, I'm sure, some interaction and the wisdom of Larry in particular, and of course, Taylor. But I've been around a long time. And I had the honor and privilege leading a great project at Avon. And then when I decided that it was time to move on and do more what I wanted to do, I left. I had met Stuart Johnson, who owns Direct Selling News. And Stuart made it very interesting for me to take over the publication Direct Selling News, which was designed to focus on executives. So many of you may never have seen the publication, and that's understood. But I thought that would be a 2-year project. It became a 10-year project. And it gave me the opportunity to look at a multitude of different things going on under the labels of direct selling, network marketing in particular. That was a great period in time for me. And then a couple of years ago, I decided that it was once again time to focus on something else that I wanted to do, and that is study, reflect. I have a lot of journals developed over the years, and Jim Rohn taught us how to use journals. So I have a lot, and I wanted to do some research to substantiate some of the insights and some of the beliefs and some of the hypotheses. You know what I'm saying? That I had formulated. And for the last 2+ years, I have been leading what we call the Ultimate Gig Project. What is it all about? Well, it's first of all about looking at the general marketplace, not a subset of the marketplace. Now, subsets are important to us, especially direct selling, network marketing, whatever label that you are most comfortable with. But it is a subset, and there's something bigger. And in lay terms or easy to understand terms, we call it the gig economy. Now, ever since 2015, I have been observing that it's growing like a weed. Technology is a huge factor, and people from all walks of life are involved in what we used to call part-time work. even a part-time job. Well, the gig economy is not about part-time jobs. It's really about micro entrepreneurship in different forms. And in our research, we classified gigs as being 4 different types. Transportation gigs, we're all familiar with the Uber, Lyft driver, DoorDash, etc. Service gigs, TaskRabbit. We don't have to worry about what we cannot do in the home. Hit the app, call the TaskRabbit, or any other service that's into that. And all of a sudden, technology connects a need with, or a product or service that can fulfill a need with a consumer who has the need. And the intermediary is the gig worker. And now all of a sudden, our phones become really smart, because I often say today, it's not only work from home, it's work from phone. And some of you are on your phone right now. This is the medium that you have chosen to engage this particular conversation. So the gig economy, through transportation gigs, service gigs, selling gigs, and leasing gigs, started to attract an enormous number of people from all walks of life. Gen Z, millennials, the mature, the more senior, who were experiencing being replaced, displaced because of increased use of efficiencies and technology in particular. Artificial intelligence, robots, are shrinking the job base in many ways. And on a senior side, there's a need to be able to engage in something that you can learn quickly, engage quickly, and be a part of very quickly. When I go back to Gen Z and millennials, they never have understood the fact that we ever work 9 to 5. That seems to be insane to them. So this whole idea of part-time work or micro enterprise that is so flexible that you can do it when you want to, how you want to, from wherever you want to, has become very popular. Now, ever since 2015, I'm looking at stats and facts. Gig economy is growing like a weed, and I'm just giving you stats and facts. I'm not trying to debate anything, but the facts are, overall, direct selling, network marketing, overall, there are always exceptions, but overall, the growth rate year over year was shrinking ever since 2015. But because our culture is so focused on positivity, we never talked about that we were a part of a shrinking business model. We still did what we do best, and that is promote the best of our angels, not focus on, what might not be as positive as it was before. Well, that's okay, and that's a unique asset. But the facts are, from a business point of view, you have to look at the stats and facts, and you have to start digging what's different that we stop growing year over year growth rate. And this other thing called gig economy is attracting over 57 million people and contributing over $1.4 trillion to the US economy alone. All of this is happening, and all of a sudden we're in a little different place. Now, audience, I know you know what I'm talking about, because if you've been around a while, you've been concerned about your checks shrinking or your checks not growing as fast as you would like. And that has something to do, especially when he mentions audience and behavior. And we have become very complicated over the past few years as a business model. What we find in the research and what the gig economy is telling us is that simplicity versus complexity is a big value, is a big interest. People love that. Make it make sense to me in a couple of sentences, not a whole presentation that causes me to think about how I need to change my life to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a huge difference. That's a huge difference. The gig economy ties to a philosophy of less is more.
Yes.
And we had perhaps become a little bit too complex. So when you take a look at simplicity versus complexity, less is more, and then you apply it to a business model, it means that we must make it easy for people to understand, easy for people to engage, easy for people to do, and we must appeal to the masses, not a micro segment in the masses. Now, what am I talking about? I'm talking about what Larry Thompson has talked about for years. The 85th, what is it, 80-15, 80-10-5 rule.
80-15.
80-15-5. I'm sorry. Okay. I got to make sure that I get my Larry notes. Okay. But the point is, the masses need to understand, not the smallest niche, because if that's our focus and we're looking for people that want to be just like you instantaneously, we know that there's no such thing. The beautiful thing about the resurrection of the millionaire training is that the millionaire training was never about the cause, it was about the result. That if you do this, if you activate the discipline of doing it this way, that way, you increase your chances of succeeding, and chances are you might experience something that we now would call extraordinary success. And that is what has happened for many of the people that were fortunate enough to be around Larry Thompson in those wonderful years. There were some who could do and teach, some own, and had that ability to not only do it, lead by example, but also teach it and coach to the principles in a manner that would help the truck driver as well as the person that was maybe already in a profession, but spending more than they were earning, which is a fact of life. And I'm going to give you another stat, which is as motivational as anything that I've uncovered. And that is when we look at household savings and we look at the segments of different ages, those in the 34 to 45 age group, over 60% have less than $1,000 saved. Now, I don't care what you hear about employment and opportunity. If we look at the facts, gosh, we know that over 60-some% of the people that are walking, talking in the marketplace don't have $1,000 in a savings account in the age group of 34 to 45. Now, I pay attention to those things because sometimes we think that we need to do this or that to motivate, and sometimes it just takes, hey, if you do this and you do that, I know that you might achieve this. Another thing that we know now is that customers are important. So why is it important to even mention that? Because you as leaders really control the behavior of the organizations that you lead. And a focus on customer acquisition and retention is very fundamental to success with this kind of model. Now, some people will want to go on and be more successful and more successful and more successful, but the marketplace says, let's help the 80% be more successful.
Yes.
The 80% will become more successful if they see a believable, realistic way to earn $500 to $1,500 a month.
Yes.
We know this from the research. I'm not just giving you what we think. We now know this from the research.
Yes.
So this is a fact. This is a stat. That is motivational. You know why? Because I take any brand that may be listening, regardless of what company that you're involved in, and I'm sure you believe in a passionate way about your products and you consume those products on a monthly basis. Well, when you add it all up at the end of the month, and I know I'm always amazed what my nutritional bill is in comparison to the grocery bill.
Yes.
The nutritional bill often exceeds the grocery bill because I don't want to be without my nutritional supplements. Well, if you take an average order of $50 or $75, not to mention $100, which is very feasible under some brands, but I don't care what the brand is or what the service is. The fact is, there are consumers that are waiting for us to introduce the brand in a manner in which they can easily understand. Now, my average order is $50 or $75, and I have 20 customers. Those of you that are mentally quick, you just calculated that. 20 customers times a $50 average order is over $1,000 in sales. 20 customers times a $75 average order is more. Every participant in our business model can do that. You know why? Because right now we learn to use tools like this. We learn to be digital versus physical. So we can share our platforms, we can share our messages with others who are waiting to hear from authenticity and somebody who really believes from experience in what they're doing. Now, when you look at 20 customers, average order, $50, $1,000 in sales, if you are providing a commission of 25%, maybe 30, that person is in a passive way now earning $200-300 a month. Guess what? They can have 40 customers. This is not about a horse race. This is about behavior aggregated over a period of time. If I could do that in 30, 40, 60 days, in another 30, 40, 60 days, I may have 40 customers, 50 customers. Guess what? Our research has uncovered independent contractors who have hundreds of customers now buying through the platform, whereas the network of the direct seller is getting credit, and they're at home like we are. Happy New Year, Happy New Year. This is my business. This is what I love to do. And I represent one of the best quality brands on planet Earth. That's what each of you say. So I'm just giving you a little tidbit of the information that we have gathered over the last 2+ years. I hope you buy the book. The book is going to be titled Ultimate Gig. We're in the final phase of approving the manuscript. My publisher is Emerald Publishing out of the UK. So the distribution is going to be global in nature once we gain our initial traction in the US. The targeted introduction date right now is March of this year. We're into 2021. We've been working on this a long time. So don't forget, one of the books you want to read as soon as it becomes available, Ultimate Gig. We also will be introducing some other research resources that you might desire to describe to. Our website is ultimategigbook.com. If you want to just take a look at some of the people that I'm working with, ultimategigbook.com. And get ready for a great new year. I said this to Larry in conversation the other day, and I'm going to wrap my comments because I probably talked too long. I think that this model is headed for a Zoom moment. Now, what do I mean by a Zoom moment? I mean that when we reflect on historical great defining moments in time, we can easily, some of us, remember when we were working in offices and people used to say, I need a Xerox copy. Well, when that terminology came into the vernacular of the marketplace, I need a Xerox copy. Some of the machines were manufactured by HP, Minolta, and many other brands, but Xerox had gotten our attention. So even though we didn't have a Xerox machine, our vernacular said, I need a Xerox copy. Well, there have been some defining moments like that throughout history. We're experiencing one right now. Less than 12 months ago, Zoom had anticipated the need for us to communicate this way. They were ready. They didn't know a pandemic was coming, but they were ready because it just made sense that our society was evolving toward simplicity versus complexity, digital platforms versus physical platforms, and they were ready. the pandemic hits, and I think Zoom had something like 10 million customers. The ratio is about right, whether the number is right or not. And then all of a sudden, Zoom to about 200 million plus customers. That's what I call a Zoom moment. Well, what am I talking about? I'm talking about us as independent contractors, network marketers, direct sellers, beginning to think beyond our labels, beginning to realize that the marketplace is much bigger than a subset. Larry Thompson always talks about the ping pong ball versus the basketball. We're in a basketball type moment. Sometimes our labels can hold us back. And the future says, I'm not sure that we need to spend a whole lot of time describing ourselves as this or that, whatever your label might be. I think your brand is important. So I would never move away from promoting the brand that I believe in. But the conversation, the language associated with, I'm a network marketer, MLM, I think we know is problematic language. So why do we even use it? It just complicates the issue. The perception in the marketplace is it means something else other than what we mean. So why don't we use the language that defines who we are and what we can really mean to people from all walks of life, with simplicity versus complexity, understanding that it's all about customer acquisition and retention, and then about duplicating behaviors so that other people understand it the way we understand it. It's a real, in my opinion, simplistic transformation that lies before us as the big opportunity of perhaps a lifetime. It's a Zoom moment. People need to look at us, need to look at you as being the preferred choice, not a label, the preferred choice of how they can engage and affiliate with a great brand, a great opportunity. And if they ask you, how will I be rewarded? You need to be able to tell them in 1 or 2 sentences, not a 20-slide PowerPoint presentation about this bell and that bell. I could be controversial right now. I see the future more as being simplicity versus complexity. I see a less is more philosophy being far more important than perhaps ever in the past. I see a marketplace all of a sudden looking to you and looking to those of us who have been advocates for many years as being the preferred choice. You are the preferred choice. You know how I know that? Because I know that you would not be here on New Year's Day if you were not representing something that you sincerely believe in, that you feel to be very important, and you made the decision that nothing else was important as being a part of this conversation at this particular moment in time in 2021. So happy New Year, folks. And Larry and Taylor, thank you again for inviting me to be a part of, hey, this wonderful, crazy gathering that brings people together when other folks are looking at a football game. Guess what? We're looking at each other.
And listen, John, thank you so much.
Yeah, no, this is really good. I love this conversation, John. I love everything that you're sharing because it's so relevant to everybody's listening here, and what you're saying it really does go back to 1979. It goes back to 1980 because to me it's you guys were around whenever there were network marketing companies that did not change their audience. They did not change their language, and they certainly did not change their behavior. And because of they didn't move into that transition and they didn't understand what was being said, right? They became irrelevant. I mean, we can talk about Blockbuster versus Netflix. We can talk about, the companies, you use the, I think you use the Kodak model as something that you talk about. Most people go, what's Kodak? I mean, there's people around don't even know. And it was a staple in our day and time, but because they did not change their behavior. And so I feel like this is such a relevant conversation to those listening in this space because we are all independent. You guys listening, you are independent business people. And whenever you identify the audience, not whenever Larry says audience and what he was talking about, the ping pong, the 5% versus the basketball, the 80%, you literally have to take this conversation and what's being said and evaluate. Is your message simple? Is the way that you bring people into your business, is it simple? Can other people do it? Can the long-haired hippie construction worker do it? Can the stay-at-home mom do it? Can the lady truck driver do what you do? And whenever you can start evaluating from that perspective, simplicity versus complexity, such a great way to be able to look at the things that you do and be able to evaluate it and be able to tweak and GPS it and fix and refine it, understanding that the behavior ties into everything of how you're going to build and grow business. And I've seen a lot of people talk about duplication. Listen, if you understand this message and what we're talking about here and what we're talking about with Millionaire Training, we're talking about with Larry's 6 pillars, whenever you're understanding what we're saying and we're giving you the tools to do, this is not about addition anymore. This is not even about duplication. If you understand this message right here, you can actually bring it into multiplication, which is some things most people don't know or understand inside of their business. They've been used to addition at best. But if you understand what's being said to you right here in this moment, I guarantee you, you can set yourself up for 2021 for a year of multiplication, exponential growth.
Wow. I mean, there's nothing I can add to what John said and Taylor has said with you. And I got to share this with you. John and Taylor started working on a project in 2018. And he started bringing this information. We've been friends for all these years, okay? But he started bringing this information because we're working on a very close project, okay? And was saying, oh my goodness. And I started understanding his group comes up with the stats, okay? My simple background is how to translate to the truck driver, how to translate it to the school teacher, okay? How do you translate these things? Okay. And when he said that the network marketing space since 2015 has been going down, the direct sales space has been going down. Okay. Why is that? Why has that happened when we hear all these phenomenal incomes that are coming in from a lot of different people and a lot of network marketing companies? Okay. And some remarkable sales growth in a lot of companies. It's still going down because I'm sharing this with you. I would like to tell you I'm a brilliant strategist and tactician. Okay, I am very, very good at what I do. Am I brilliant? No. Am I common sense? Yes. Okay. If I can do it as a construction worker, the long-haired hippie construction worker, never finished high school, I just got to be able to translate that to other people that fit my profile. That's all it is. Instead of becoming to learn how to be, in our space, a network marketer, they're teaching everybody how to be a marketer. Okay, you want to laugh at something? For those of you that know the Millionaire Training, you know the gold mine story. Remember the gold mine? Okay, where you go and if you take out a coin and there's 2 in its place, and there's a joke in there. And I said, what are you going to do once you discover where that gold mine is? And every time you take out 1 gold coin, 2 comes in its place. Who are you going to tell about that gold mine? Where is that gold mine? Okay, and are you going to run an ad? Are you going to run a blog? Are you going to get content? Are you going to go out and talk to people in a way that you can relate to them? And that's what John has been able, in his group, been able to give us. That's exactly the set of circumstances that we have today on January 1st, 2021, was the exact same set of circumstances that led to the Palm Springs meeting with 12 people on January 2nd, 1981, where we really launched Herbalife. It'd been in business for a year, but we really took off with everything we put together. How did that happen? We come out of an audience language behavior transformation. We came out of a pandemic environment, which is every bit as big, if not bigger, and negative impact that it had on us back then. Talk to your parents, okay? You don't know about it, but talk to your parents. That was real stuff. And you identify those 2 things, audience language and behavior, and these kind of times, guess what you can do? I'll tell you what we did. 5 years' time, we were #1. In 5 years' time, these people were created. Can you imagine what we can do with the Academy and the stuff that John Fleming and the group continue? You got to understand this. This audience language and behavior is changing before our eyes.
Yes.
It's changed since last month. It's going to change next month. That's why the Academy, it's real-time information coming from groups like John's. And we are translating it into the truck driver story.
I just have to say this. I think this is so exciting, because the thing that really wasn't said straight up is this. Whenever we're talking about gig economy, guys, whenever he says the ultimate gig, whenever he's talking about the ultimate gig, he is referring to you. He is referring to you and your business. Don't misunderstand what's being said, because here's the thing. We've got to understand we're not competing with other network marketers and other network marketer companies. We're competing in the gig economy. We're competing with Uber. We're competing with TaskRabbit. We're competing with doing business from a phone. That's who we're competing with. But what the hope is, and what 2021 is, and the Happy New Year is all about, is the fact that you are you are the ultimate gig. Because if you can get a customer and keep a customer, you have residual income. You can repeat that. And if you can show somebody else how to get a customer and keep a customer, then you are making an advancement in the gig economy. And it is become the ultimate gig, because there's no such thing as residual income for an Uber driver. There is no such thing as a residual income for a TaskRabbit. It is a job. The ultimate gig, it is leverage. It is residual income. And if you can understand how to bring in a customer, take care of a customer, show them how to get a customer and maybe pay for their own products, I'm telling you, this is where the magic is. This is the behavior that we're talking about here. So be excited. You are a part of it. But just take it and simplify. And that's what we're here to do, to help you do, so 2021 can be your year of exponential growth.
And guys, here, there's no, yeah, I'm in on it. You got to understand something. This has all been an evolution. The Academy, okay, we're now calling it the LT Wealth Building GigEcon Academy, okay, because that's really what this whole focus is all about. This started with the information that Taylor and I were gathering up, traveling around the globe and watching this decline and all this complexity come in. And then when we started working with John, we were able to translate this into layman's terms and be able to continue to do it. It's fast, guys. You got to stay in tune fast, okay? Every deep dive we do in our Academy, we do 6 hours of deep dive, live interactive every single month. Every one of them is built on the last one. This one, we're going to be introducing to you the gig economy flywheel, and to show you those pieces that every one of you, regardless of your product, your service, their compensation model, no matter what it is, if you adopt to the audience language and behavior concept, you're going to have a huge business in front of you. But you got to adapt. You can't sit back here in the corner. You will become Blockbuster versus Netflix. I don't care how great your product is. Okay, I don't care how great your company is. You got to adapt, and you got to adapt quickly. That's how we did it in 1985 up to 19. We threw that way, that same way. You guys can. We did it once. We can do it again. Come with us on this journey. I promise you, if we did it once with these same concepts and principles and philosophy, we can do it again. I dare you to come down this path with us. I dare it. Woo! Woo!
Love it.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
All right, guys.
Okay, so that is it for us. We want to thank you, John, for taking out time to
Thanks,
be here.
John.
Thank you guys for being here. We hope you have a blessed a day spending time with your family and those you love. But thank you so much for spending time and bringing out and celebrating the brand new year with us today. So Happy New Year.
Woo, Buffalo, let's go. See you next Friday.
Stay safe.
Thanks, John. You make me look good. Thank you.